guys. So I have a special guest on today. I got my guy Franco on, man. What's good from Frank Analysis? What's good, man? How are you today, man?
What's good, man? It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, absolutely. So I guess just to get right into it, I'm kind of pulling on my notes. I wrote down like some questions and everything. And I guess just to get off rip, like what got you into politics, man? Because when I watch your show, like it's very like inspirational as well as like satisfying to see. And like I just want to know what got you, into politics and into this the fray and everything and all that.
To be honest, I don't really know what it was that got me always interested in like elections and everything, other than thinking about what's best for humanity, right? Like ever since I was a kid, I was like, oh yeah, Bush is bad, right? In elementary
Mhm.
school and all that. And then like with Barack Obama against John McCain, I was like, yeah, McCain's bad. He's like Bush. Just really surface level. But then after 8 years of Obama, I could just tell nothing's really changing in the country
Mhm.
since the Bush years. So I was thinking, what could it be? Like, is it really just the Republicans that are making things harder for Barack Obama to get anything done, really? And then Bernie Sanders really opened my eyes with how corporations own our politicians. And then that introduced me to channels like TYT. We know what kind of journalists they are now, what kind
Yeah.
of pundits they are now, but that was that gateway for me to find other channels. Like I found Humanist Report, Kyle Kalinske, the Jimmy Dore Show. I no longer listen to the former two, but from there I started meeting different people. Um, I thought that there needed to be more voices out there. There was a lot of great rational voices around 2018, like Nico House, and I felt like there wasn't enough of them. So during the 2019 to 2020 election, I started thinking maybe I should have a channel or something, right, to help spread more awareness, because there's not enough people out there like that. So I joined my friend's podcast, Pedro and Brooks from HMO podcast. They talked about sports and pop culture stuff, and I thought, hey, I mean, politics, like it's news stuff, and a lot of people our age are starting to become more politically aware. Why don't we
Mhm.
start to apply some more political news on the show, and I can help you guys out. So we did that for a bit, and I started getting really into it. A lot of my content started overwhelming the channel, I guess. So I thought that because with politics, like there's so much to talk about. You can make a video about almost any news that comes out.
It's crazy
Um,
how much it bleeds into other things too that people really don't realize at all. Like how much
yeah,
it bleeds into
pol
pop. Yeah,
yeah. Politics controls all our lives. Like whether it's in sports, entertainment, politics is everywhere.
exactly.
So yeah, that's the origin story for Frank Analysis.
Word, man. I guess it's I see it because I the reason why I asked that is because like my journey has been so like up and down, like def left and right, like literally and metaphorically in the same sense. Because growing up, I grew up in a black household. It was always like Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. And then when Obama came around, it was just like, you know, the first black president, like nobody wanted to hear anything negative about him or anything like that. And it took me literally watching like Jimmy Dore one day. And I used to watch TYT. Like me and my friends used to watch it in the background, like, between doing like freestyle raps and everything, smoking weed and everything. We would throw on TYT in the background and everything. And I saw him just going off on Obama one day. Like he called him like a craven maniac or something like that. Just one of his epic rants on Barack Obama. And I was like, all right, let me see what this guy's talking about. And that's when I got into Jimmy Dore. And then eventually like 2016 came and went, and like this crazy guy Trump, who I always thought, I grew up with a hip hop background, so I always saw rappers associating with him. Like everybody wanted to be Donald Trump and everything like that,
I
in the
remember
whole hip
that.
hop scheme. Yeah, so it was like seeing him come along and just get so hated for certain shit that I kind of thought similarly to him, like prior to what I learned about now, about what they're pushing about China. I used to have a heavy anti-China stance back then. I was in favor of bringing jobs back to America. He was talking about that. He was basically saying all the right shit, that reached out to me. And then like, I've never heard a Republican at the Republican National Convention stand up there and look a Bush in his eye and say, "Hey, the World Trade Center went down under your brother."
Yeah.
All the crazy antics this guy did, on top of actually saying some true factual shit as well, like that kind of made me like a semi-Trump supporter. Like it didn't, you wouldn't see me wearing a MAGA hat or going to the rallies or anything, but I was like, you know what, this guy's not too bad. But then it started getting deeper, started seeing more of the same shit. He was doing the same shit Obama was doing, same shit, Bush was doing. So, and that's when I really started like discovering channels like yours more. I was watching Jimmy Dore more, but just getting into the more niche independent media, like seeing you on the ground and everything at protest and seeing a more nuanced take and opinion on things. And so that's why I was like, sometimes like I still get like tripped up and I'll go to your channel and hear you talk about certain things. I'm like, yo, that makes a lot of sense. And like compare it to where my thought process is with everything as well. So it's really dope to hear like you're coming up as well. And I guess like, have you ever like just been like stuck, like confused about things politically? Like, cause I was watching one of your recent shows. I forget who it was with. It was with a young lady, and you guys were talking about how people are afraid to break through their biases when they get hit with alternative, or not alternative facts, but something that juxtaposes to what their beliefs is. Like, have you ever got to that point? Like, what, well, obviously you have, but what forced you to like kind of rethink everything that you thought was like unlearning everything you've learned already?
Great question. Like, where did that all start? So like in 2016 and 2017 is during the times when I started uh, listening to independent media, like, but the more popular ones. I mean, those were probably like almost the only ones at the time, right? Secular Talk, Jimmy Dore, and all that. TYT, I heard that they were critical of Obama, although I didn't watch them like that pre 2016. But Jimmy Dore, he opened my eyes more about Obama, just like he did with you. Because at the time, like even while Bernie Sanders was running for president, I was like, okay, like Obama's still kind of good, but then like Jimmy Dore just like laid down the facts, all the shit that he's done. Instead of getting us out of war, he's brought us into more war. So I was just thinking, that just made me question more about everything that I hear from that's popular, right? The popular narrative. That's the narrative that we should always be questioning. But also during mid 2017, I stopped listening to political independent news. I was going through like some personal stuff in my life where I was feeling really depressed, really anxious. And so I was looking for more like self-help stuff. I found like some spiritual channels, and that made me question reality in general. We don't have to go too deep into like all the stuff that I learned from those channels, but I started reading more books that were recommended from those channels. Like there's a book called The Book of Not Knowing by Peter Ralph, and that just made me realize like the 90% of the things that most people know are just assumptions. They don't actually know that. It's just things that they've heard repeated over and over again. Very so true. Whenever I hear something, I always tell myself, how do I know that this is true? Do I know that this is true because somebody told me? And it's just because it's somebody that I trust, and I'm just gonna take it for something as true, as factual, or should I question that and look further into it and then make up my own mind? That's how it should be, but that's just not how society's been indoctrinated, right? It's not how we've been taught to think. In schools, we're taught what to think rather than how to think, right? So it's really hard to break out of this way that we've been programmed to think. But that I don't know if that just gave me an advantage to when I started listening to political stuff again back in 2018. I started seeing, okay, who's actually questioning things more, who's actually presenting more evidence to back up their claims. And to me, like during those times, it was Jimmy, it was people like Nico, the Combo Couch.
Oh, they're all
Uh,
amazing, dude. I love Combo
yeah,
Couch and Nico, man.
yeah, I love the fam. So yeah, like you should always be questioning things. So also what channels like the Last American Vagabond always says, like question everything. Like even things that I say on my show, I have to tell my audience. So don't just accept things that I say just because I say them. You have to question things that I say. I could be wrong. Um, so and then we shouldn't feel embarrassed to admit when we're wrong, right? But I
Yeah,
guess a lot of people have that pride.
we've been taught to like to not even I guess we have been taught, but it's like people are so afraid to just say I don't fucking know. Like like it's not, it's not going to hurt you. Like people aren't going to like, attack you over. Some people might, but fuck them. That's the way I look at it. Like,
Yeah.
because it's like like in my opinion, if you're trying to get to the truth, you shouldn't let the ego get in the way of that. And that is definitely the divide that I've definitely been seeing in like a lot of politics and everything like that. And I guess I'll kind of segue this into this, man, because I wanted to get into this with you, man. Like, speaking of biases and things like that, you walked into the Lion's Den with that AOC Corey Bush event, man. I'm sitting here watching it at certain points because like I'm a very like a shy person and things like that. Like it's very hard for me to come out my shell. So like with you and the other guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name. It was the black guy you went to the protest with as well. Um,
Colin.
Colin, yes. You guys
Yeah.
are just yelling questions at them, and all of these like liberal types are just around, like looking at you. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's in the Lions Den. Like I have an idea of what like pushes you to do that, but just explain that to the audience. Like what was going through your mind, and like what made you feel compelled to do that.
I am also a shy person, but for me, telling people what's actually true is like that urge that I feel of saying something is wrong is a lot stronger than me being afraid to say anything at all. It's just always been like that. Like people may call it like, oh, like I say things like for shock value, like at the family table, right? Me just like saying shit, like telling them like how the world is actually operating in a dinner table with my family who used to be like Clinton supporters and Obama supporters. I just was always kind of like that. I've never been in a situation where I'm in a huge crowd of people like that, and then me having to say that it is a scarier situation to be in. But I was just thinking to myself, F it. Like, look, I have people backing me too. There's a bunch of other people who can't be here and say the things that they wish they could feel. Uh, People knowing the truth is more important than whatever ramifications I could feel from the crowd. And at the end of the day, like you said, like who cares, right? So
Exactly.
I called them out. I told them, what are you? It sounds like you guys are just kicking that. This isn't exactly what I said, but it is kicking the can down the road. What about will people's rents be forgiven with the extension of the eviction moratorium? Right?
Yeah,
They couldn't even
exactly.
answer that.
And that's just what's so amazing to me, because like to me, even without like watching anybody's coverage of it, like their like I guess opinionated coverage of it and everything, I saw what this shit was. I'm like, you guys sat here and waited to the last minute, and now you want to do this like basically photo op. And then like literally I go on
Yeah.
on Twitter and I see them already doing their like fundraising shit, like what, like
Immediately after.
declaring victory, and then like literally like a couple, and I myself, just going back to what you were talking about before, I've been going through a little bit of things myself, so I kind of been distanced from following the the political scope and everything, like very similar to what you just described for yourself as well. So but from what I have been following, like it just seems like it just seems like the everyday like run of the mill things that's going on. And that's where it's just like that's kind of like my political journey as well, when I like started getting more into the leftism and like following the politicians. When I used to believe politicians was going to be our, like, I guess salvation, in the sense that may be too extreme of a word, but I thought like, yo, if we put all of our energy behind these people, like those people that were, that were at that protest with you, like we have to put our people, put our energy behind these people, even people like Adam Schiff, apparently, like,
Yeah.
like the young lady that went off on Max Blumenthal or
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
It should be the other way around.
yeah,
Like they should
exactly.
be garnering our support. They should be reducing the amount of questions that we have for them by being honest with us. But I mean, that's not what they're doing. But yeah, like I was saying, like I was always kind of like that, like with friends, with like, when it came to like music taste, like a lot of them would like some mainstream music. And I'll be like, nah, that's some crap. Like I listened to like at the time, I'll listen to like Lupe Fiasco, Talib
Okay.
Kweli.
Okay.
Although Talib Kweli's going crazy right now.
I actually had a little beef with him on Instagram.
A lot of people have.
Yes.
Who else? Just a lot of like 80s, 90s hip hop,
Word.
Nas and all that. I would really get into it with some of my friends who would really like Lil Wayne. And I'll be like, hey, bro, he's not all that. But I mean, it's my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's how I always was too, man. Cause like, all right, look, speaking of mainstream things, like just to do a quick sidebar into this, I am one of the few guys, like I like Drake isn't even my favorite rapper. He's the most mainstream, like corporate cooked up thing ever. But he's one of those artists where it's like, you're not my favorite rapper. You're probably not even in my like top 20, but it's like, I like some of the shit you say, and some of your old stuff. So like when people be like, oh, he's trash, I would be like, yo, y'all literally got me out here defending Drake of all people, bro. Like,
Yeah, I don't think he's trash.
yeah,
But like you said, he's not one of my favorites. Same with
exactly.
Lil Wayne. Like at the time, sometimes he had some trash song, like where he's like not trying during like at the time, right? Like he's saying like what, dear Mr. Toilet, I'm the shit, or some like ridiculous things like that. It's funny, but like you're gonna call him like the best lyricist.
Exactly. Like you're comparing that to like people who are writing like magnum opuses like Nas. Like
Cool G rap, Rakim, there's no comparison.
exactly. And then like even like some of the modern artists, like I will put like a J. Cole, Kendrick. It's actually a new artist from Atlanta. His name is Grip. Amazing artist. Like some of
I
these
gotta check them
newer,
out.
yeah, he's really dope. He does like these like weird, like almost like old Odd Future-esque type beats and everything like that. So like really dope guy coming out of Georgia too. So it's really dope artist. But the segue back into politics, I could talk rap with you all day, man. I'm a huge rapper. I'm a rapper myself. So, but
Awesome.
yeah, but like that's kind of what I wanted to get into, like the fraud squad journey. And I don't want to like linger on it too much because that's one of the things I was talking to my audience about is like we can keep talking about this as their fuckery and their bullshit comes out, as I like to call it, their fuckery comes out. But it's like now we need, like, that's what I love about your channel as well too. You have a solutions panel. You feel me? You point out all of the bullshit, but you sit down and with real people as well, and you have a solutions panel that I really like fuck with. But just to get into this real quick, like at what point, because you kind of alluded to it a little bit, at what point did you notice like the bullshit with like a Bernie, with like an AOC, Ilhan, whoever it was? Like what was it that triggered you that's like, oh, these people are full of shit?
Them being hypocrites and saying that we should be allying ourselves with the people that they've been supposedly fighting against.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bernie Sanders allying himself with Biden in 2020. With in 2016, I could understand it at the time. I was like, okay, he's shooting for that 2020 run and he might alienate some people away. But in 2020, like, come on, bro, what are you doing? Like, we're running out of time, and you're gonna be campaigning for this guy, like Joe Biden, author of the crime bill, who played a key role in so much of the destruction that we've had with our foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with AOC and everybody else in the squad. What was really opening my eyes about the squad is how they weren't standing in solidarity with Tulsi at the time, but I don't see Tulsi the same way right now either.
Jesus, yes. Oh my God. Jesus, I guess we can go into that, man, too, because it's like there's like, going back to rap real quick, it's kind of like a running joke. Some people actually believe this, that that some of these rappers are cloned when they go to jail and they come back like Gucci Mane and Kodak Black. Oh, they like, did you go into the military and get cloned and come back a different person? Like, what the hell? Like, you're advocating for drone strikes. I specifically remember her like at one point she was saying like in some situations we could talk about drone strikes, but not really. She wasn't advocating it, for it like she is now. Like, I wonder like what's going through her mind when she tweets this shit and says this shit.
Like during the primaries, her policies were better than Bernie's. They were not being supported by AOC and the other squad members. So that's why I was like, okay, why aren't they doing that? Like, that's when I started questioning the squad more. Of course, commentary from people like Nico House opened my eyes more to that. Commentary from other people also, like the Convo Couch and Jimmy Dore, and also some of the audience members. Like a lot of other people started opening their eyes more to the BS that all these politicians do. So I started talking more to them. They started giving me even more information that I wasn't even seeing from in independent media. So all that helped open my eyes more. Like there's something that content creators need to keep in mind is that just because you have a show doesn't mean that you know more than what the audience knows.
Yeah.
You have to be open to receiving information from the audience members. Like a lot of people in my audience are smarter than me, and I bring some of them onto my show, and they go on and do like more amazing things. They do their own investigation, whatever inspired them to do that. Like I'm gonna give some shout outs now to like people like Shadowban Refugee, Jack Sith, Seb Solomon, Ali Alexandra. They dive deep into the legislation, which not enough people are doing. And I understand because it's a lot of things to read, but that's really what we should be doing.
Because it's designed that way. It's designed to get people not to care.
We need to understand how they're trying to screw us over. But yeah, like with Tulsi, I don't know what the heck hit her, because her policies were good, but then I mean I've opened my eyes more. I've seen some of the things that she said in like 2015, like what her stances were about drones and everything, and it really hasn't changed. It's just that the bar was set so low that I guess I was just settling for someone like that. But yeah, I don't trust politicians anymore. None of them. I'm not supporting Tulsi ever again, or any politician at that.
Yeah, I think what turned me off from like Tulsi aside, because that's actually why for the reason I'm about to explain, why I kind of like liked her more. And like when I say this, I'm not a person that's like, anti these people's struggles or everything or anything like that. But like I always felt like AOC, Ilhan Omar, and them always played into that like wokeism, that quote unquote wokeism, which I feel has like been turned into a dirty word by like a lot of like conservatives and things like that. But and I don't have an issue with conservatives as well. But the fact of the matter is like, like for example, when you and Colin and Max went out there and like we're asking AOC legit questions because she's a politician who's supposed to take questions. You see people like Anna Kasparian coming out calling Max Blumenthal sexist. You see them coming out calling Jimmy Dore sexist for always attacking AOC, even though he attacks. I would say he like attacked Bernie way harder. He's called him a pussy and a cuck like live on his show. I think it's kind of attacking him harder, but like, and that's like they weaponize these things and like. Honestly, like me as a black dude, seeing that type of shit, that annoys me a lot because it's like, you're using struggles, like mine. You're using struggles like the trans struggle or the LGBTQ struggle and weaponizing it in the same way, as you said earlier, as the people you're supposed to oppose. Like to me, in the same way, like Hillary Clinton weaponizing sexism against Bernie, to me, was the same way they were weaponizing that against you guys for going out there asking them legit questions. Like, it's not sexist to ask AOC a question that has to do with her not doing her goddamn job, which a lot of these people that are questioning her now, like Jimmy Dore, helped get her elected.
Yeah. I mean, we ask people like Jamal Bowman questions. Like, it doesn't matter what sex the politician has. Like, they're a politician. They're supposed to be doing their job, writing legislation that's supposed to benefit our lives, not the lobbyists' lives, who are the people who write these legislations.
Exactly.
But yeah, them like standing with Nancy Pelosi, them not actually promoting outsider candidates, them not calling out problems with our election system.
Exactly.
And that's the other thing. Like, we're not going to solve any of our problems if our elections are privately owned.
Try telling Tim Black that.
Tim
Try telling.
Black, I think he knows, but I mean, this is just my speculation. I think he knows he's just trying to grift and get a job working at Nina Turner's campaign or something.
Yeah, dude, because it's like and not to just single him out, but it's like you're literally shitting on a bunch of like basically regular everyday people for something they couldn't control. Like if you're saying like the whole like from what I remember around that topic was that it was all this dark money that came in that basically swayed the election. So what do these people with this Jimmy Dore, what those people who don't like the squad have to do with Nina Turner not winning the election? If, according to you guys, she lost because of all this dark money that she was going to lose either way.
And another reason why I think he knows is because he was supporting Tim Canova in 2018 when he ran against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And the whole thing that Tim Canova was raising awareness of was the rigged election system and how there were missing ballots. Like, he was presenting so much evidence. So Tim Black knows better.
He does.
He's just trying to be comfortable and do his show and grow his brand. But in the long run, that's not a good plan. In the long run, if you actually want to have a successful brand or whatever, is having honesty.
Yeah, and that's something that I see you doing your show. That's definitely something I do not even try. I do, I feel like my show, I say shit that I feel, and based upon the evidence that I'm saying, like if my audience knows I showed them like the article clippings and things like that. Like I follow a similar format to like a lot of the people we watched before, like Kyle Kalinske, Jimmy Dore, people like that. But it's like lately I have been giving more like just honest raw feelings. Like honestly, it's this movie that came out a while ago. I'm drawing a blank on what it was called right now, but it had Don Cheadle and Chiwetel Ejiofor in it. It was about this radio DJ who was a DJ in Washington D.C. around when Martin Luther King got killed, and he would do like these regular like everyday comedian show. He was almost like a Breakfast Club of like the 70s or something like that. And then like Martin Luther King got killed, and you just saw him come in with like these raw emotions. Don Cheadle gave an amazing performance too with that, but he was just like, I think it was called Talk to Me, I believe, something like that. And he was just like, man, I'm angry as hell. Like you just saw him going raw with his emotions, and that's something I've always like, celebrated, with people that do that, like people like Jimmy, people like Kyle back in the day, and these different people. So like that's also what I love about you guys in the fam as well. Like especially Fee, I love how Fee gets fired up when she's talking her shit, man, because she knows what she's saying is factual. She knows that the people, the audience, is listening to her and listening to her present this evidence as well. So like I guess like I don't even know what the question was at that point. I was just saying shit, I guess. But
like the thing is like honesty, right? Like feeling, like actually feeling it. Like people can see the authenticity, and if people don't agree with you or think that you're not, the things that you are saying are not true. If you actually know what you're talking about, you've seen the evidence. If it actually, the things that you're warning about and everything actually happen, as more evidence starts to pile on about how AOC is a sellout, or evidence about how these mandates aren't good, how they're rushing out these vaccines and all that, you're going to be vindicated over time. Just like how Nico House was saying that AOC is a sellout before it was popular. Now he's vindicated. Now he doesn't even have to make videos about that because it's just so obvious. It's water is wet news. But yeah, the same, like this is why we challenge the popular narrative, because what you're saying is true most of the time, and more people are going to see it as time passes on, and then you will be vindicated. What else? There was something else I was going to say. Oh yeah, and if you're wrong, then if you're an honest person, if you're genuine and everything, then why would it look bad if you admit that you were wrong and say, hey, I was wrong on that issue? You look better that way, rather than trying to weasel your way out as if you were right in some way.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. And that's kind of what I've been, I guess I want to get to next, is just about like this whole narrative about, you hear this a lot from like the majority report crowd, the TYT crowd, about you guys are creating infighting. It's like, so you're telling me that me, saying truths is creating infighting. It's like it's and it sounds like, and this is kind of the issue I have, with that crowd, because it's like I don't hate these people, you feel me? I don't hate anybody, but it's like when if it seems like they try to accuse like us of being in this bubble and shit like that, but it's like you're the ones actually living in this
in a
bubble.
bubble,
Because if you
team
talk,
playing.
yeah, because I'm like, if you talk to like how, and this kind of goes into the wokeism thing I was talking about before, like how they like, they critique how Jimmy talks, or they critique how certain people talk and shit like that. I'm like, bro, I'm a forklift driver. I work around everyday working class people. If y'all heard some of the shit they say in my warehouse, your hair would be on fire. I have a friend who worked construction for 2 years. He works in a warehouse now as well. I'm like, yo, if y'all step on a construction site, I'll follow a Facebook construction site. Just the jokes they post on there, they literally like come on it every day, like, yep, fresh off my Facebook ban, and they say something to get banned again. So it's like these people, like, you gotta recognize that, and I identify as this myself. Like, I say shit on the job that sometimes some people will probably find offensive, nowadays and everything like that. But it's like, I feel like they automatically write these people off as like Nazis or some shit like that. Like literally everybody, like you saw this with the march for healthcare and everything like that. That my guy Sharif set up with coordination with a whole bunch of other people. But like, can you just speak on that real quick? Like, how do you like basically like this like whole red brown alliance narrative they try to push and everything? Like, I just think it's complete insanity in my opinion. How do you feel about it?
It's about human rights. It's about humanitarianism. But that's what it's about. It's not about left versus right. Like that's the whole illusion. That's what these oligarchs at the top are trying to keep us distracted with. That's the real infighting. Is infighting among the working class people, not infighting amongst like a team. What, the left? We're a team or something. We should all agree on everything 100%. We're supposed to be dedicated to the truth, not to what is popular in your bubble, not what everybody in your bubble is agreeing with. So not everybody is in this country is political like that,
Exactly.
is faithful to their team, or to a team. They don't even have a team, other than caring about themselves, their family, and their friends. That's what it should be about. Human issues. What is right for humanity and not right for humanity? What is right for, even going beyond that, what's right for the world in general? Because we're not just isolated humans from the rest of reality. We interact with our environment and everything. So that's what it should be about.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I look at it as well. And it's like it's and like I was saying, it's crazy to see that like they create this like you said, this left versus right dichotomy that doesn't necessarily exist anymore. And I get caught in it too, but it's like I like, especially where I live, like I live in suburban Delaware, and like I have a lot of conservative friends. So it's like when I speak to them, they're not hateful people. They don't, they're not how, if I was to lock myself in a room all day and watch like Sam Cedar and fucking TYT and Humanist Report or whatever, like and come out, I would think my friend is a fucking Nazi or some shit like that. And it's like, nah, that's not the case. These people, like I've literally like seen these people get castigated. Like one of my best friends that I consider like a brother, like castigated as like a fucking like a racist or some shit just for having a slightly different opinion on hot topic at the time. And it's like people don't take the time to sit down and communicate, and it's so sad to see, because it's like, especially somebody like me, I like talking about uncomfortable shit. That's just how I am. Like I'm one of those guys at work, like I'll talk to you about politics. Like I think it was and this is going to be kind of a crude joke and probably shouldn't be talk, it's probably unpopular now because it's Dave Chappelle, but Dave Chappelle had this joke in one of his old stand-ups where he was talking about like how white people didn't like to talk about politics at work, where he was like, hey man, so who'd you vote for in the election? He's like, whoa, Dave, don't ask me that. So let me tell you about how I was having sex with my wife last night or something like that. Like, it's like, it's crazy to see that people like are talking about politics at all, at all-time high now, like everywhere, and people still don't understand each other.
Yeah, because we're also taught that way. Like they're like our families, the older generation, right? They've all been indoctrinated to think, oh, we're not supposed to talk about politics in the dinner table. We're not supposed to talk about this stuff with each other at work. We're not supposed to talk about this stuff. And so you stay isolated. And then when you're hearing these confirmation bias channels like Sam Cedar and Mike Figueredo and all of them, you stay having these assumptions that you have about other people with different ideologies from you. You have assumptions about the way that they think, and then you don't even talk to them. And so you jump the gun if you hear something that you don't like that they say.
Yeah.
Because you have those assumptions. We should be dealing with people in a case-by-case way. Like everybody had their own path to get that for them to get to where they are. And if you were born as them, went through all the experiences that they went through, you'd be that person. If you had absolutely no memory on your past life, you'd be that person.
Exactly.
So why don't you try to understand why they got to where they are? And don't try to change their mind right then and there. This is a mistake that I've made before a lot with people, with my friends and stuff, and things would get ugly. Let's not try to change each other's minds right then and there. We can plant seeds. You can be like, this is another perspective, or, this is what I think. But yeah, just hear out why they think, why they believe in what they believe in. And that'll also help you understand better on what the messaging is in the mainstream and what's out there in the world to try to brainwash people into thinking certain things. And maybe you're thinking something the wrong way. You might learn something about yourself.
Exactly. And I guess I wanted to kind of move into like a hot topic. I know it's kind of like falling into the culture war and things like that. But speaking of Dave Chappelle, like, what is your opinion on that situation going on? Because I kind of saw like I think it was like last night or earlier today on Twitter, Jackson Hinkle had posted something about like, the whole Netflix thing and everything like that. And I like kind of agreed with him, but then I saw your response to him as well. And like I said, both of you guys, like I love both of you guys' shows and everything like that. But it's like, what is like, what is your opinion like on it, on, the whole, like, whether it's a workers, kind of like what he was fighting back against, like this is a workers issue type of thing going on that should be considered in the same ilk as the rest of the workers. Like, just what's your overall opinion on the situation with that?
So the Netflix strike that's getting coverage about is people that are mad at what Dave Chappelle said, right? I like whether they're like real working class. I mean, I don't know who they are. I mean, exactly. I wouldn't say like whether they're real or not real working class. They have the freedom to like strike against whatever they want in this country. They have the freedom to be wrong. I don't think what Dave Chappelle was that offensive. I don't remember exactly what he said, but from what I remember hearing, I didn't think it was that bad. These are jokes that he has done like for decades already. And like if you look at like the Rotten Tomatoes score for his special, you see the critic score and it's rotten, but then you see the audience score and it's fresh.
Exactly.
Like the audience doesn't have a problem with it. It's just a narrative that people are trying to create to try to instill more division. So like I do agree with what Jackson Hinkle was saying about not about like the real working class or whatever, but I do agree with the part where he's saying that some of these people that are praising like those strikes wouldn't be okay with strikes against mandates. But then that's when I question, wait, it seems like he changed his position on it, because I don't know if he addressed it on his show, but I say I just want to confirm you don't have the same position that you had before when you were talking about Joe Rogan saying that healthy people don't have to get vaccinated. So I just asked about that, and he said he had a change of heart. I don't. I wonder if like some of those videos that Jimmy Dore's been putting out recently, because I know that Jackson Hinkle, from what it seems like, really admires Jimmy Dore. So I was just wondering, did he have this change of heart because Jimmy Dore opened his eyes? If so, I wish he would have been listening to what people like myself and people like Whitney Webb, Eva Bartlett, Vanessa Beeley,
All
a
these
bunch of people were saying like for a long time.
all
And
all women journalists as well that have been just, in my opinion, completely slandered for like I would say the last 3 going on 4 years, maybe. Like literally they've like called Whitney Webb like a crazy kook conspiracy theory. And
yeah,
it's like everything this woman has said has come to pass. And
she's
it's
often
like
vindicated.
exactly. And it's like you
And
guys
then
don't say shit about it when she gets vindicated.
yeah, that's what's frustrating. Um, I mean, I understand why some people, like some audience members, like, they have a lot of trust in Jimmy and what he says. But I mean, we should be questioning everything. Like at one point, Jimmy was not questioning the vaccines enough, and then he took it for himself. And now he like most of his videos are spreading awareness about how wrong these mandates are and how these vaccines are losing effectiveness. He's bringing doctors on to talk about this. Um, and
Yeah.
we go into depth about that on my show, also going through the scientific papers. I've had on Dr. Robert Malone on the show also,
Yes.
and other like PhDs like James Lyons Weiler. I should bring on more people though to talk about this even further. It's been a while since I've had on a PhD, but we should always be questioning everything. Not the people we really admire and listen to. They could be wrong about issues, but it's great to see, rather than going the Graham Elwood route,
Oh my, I was just about
sticking
to
by
say
his
that,
guns
dude.
on something that you're
Yes.
clearly wrong about. We see people like Jimmy evolve, and I hope Jackson's evolution is genuine.
Yeah, man. Like Graham like broke my heart, man. That was another one, man. Cause I'm like,
And
not
Jamal Thomas,
oh, him
he
too.
was he was happy that an anti-vaxxer died of
Wow.
coronavirus.
Wow. That's
And
fucking
he said something along the lines of good or something. And Vanessa Beeley said, I'm not going back on what's the show called? Fault Lines. I'm not going back on Fault Lines because of this. It was sad.
yeah, man. It's crazy how, and this is one of the things I talk to like my friend Alfred. He comes on my show often. He talks about cryptocurrency with me and everything. He was the one that put me onto the vaccine things, and that was something where I was just like, like when I first heard it, I was like, honestly, I'm gonna be real. I would be like, all right, I don't like what is he talking about right now? Like vaccines, we can trust vaccines, like they're not bad. The typical the shit lib narrative that's going on right now. But then I
Yeah.
sat there and thought about it. I'm like, all right, let me sit here and really think about this shit. And like, being a black dude, I've been hearing, I heard from my family all the time about black people's histories, history with vaccinations and things of that nature, and just started looking up like Pfizer, all these cases like in lawsuits. Nico actually put me onto that on his show when he was just bringing up like rattling off all these like different cases, like all these different big pharma companies
Oh
that are
my
making the
God.
vaccines. Like,
Yeah.
like you guys like, so it's fuck big pharma, except when like the government, when daddy government is telling you to take their vaccines, like or Bernie Sanders or whoever the fuck it is telling you to take their vaccine. It's like just the cognitive dissonance. I think that's how I'm pronouncing the word right. Just there is just insanity to me, honestly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
seeing now they're going after rich people who don't want to take it. They're going after Kyrie Irving, going after all these people that won't take the fucking
Celebrities, they were
vaccine.
going after Nicki Minaj for just saying what an experience that her cousin had in Trinidad.
Yeah, I guess yeah, that's where I was like, I guess we don't listen to black women now, guys, huh? Like
Only when it suits their narrative, only when it
exactly.
suits their biases,
Yeah,
their
Nikki
political
was
biases.
yeah, if she was standing on stage, fucking shaking hands with Hillary Clinton and all that bullshit, and go get your vaccine, she will be a okay. But
I wanted to show you something. Is it all right if I share my screen?
yeah, sure, man. Let me know because I don't be checking. Sometimes I don't check like the share settings when I get on here. Let me know if you can.
Okay, yeah, it says host disabled. You can enable it.
Let me see.
I think with like is there like a little arrow next to the share screen button?
Yes. Let me do
If
that.
not, it's all right.
All participants. You should be able to now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna trust Pfizer right now, which the mainstream media and Fauci are heavily pushing right now, which we see that I don't know if you saw that video of like all these segments from like Good Morning America, ABC News, CBS, 60 Minutes, MSNBC, all of them saying brought to you by Pfizer. Of course, they're not criticizing Pfizer. Pfizer invests in them. They have ads for Pfizer. But yeah, they're never gonna bring this stuff up here. Like look at all these offenses that they've had. In total, the number of penalties since 2000 is $4 billion. More than $4 billion, almost $5 billion. Health-related offenses, 10 government contracting related offenses, 19 safety-related offenses, 11 competition-related offenses, 6 environment-related offenses, 19. And shout out to Ryan Christian. He's the one that showed me this when he was on the show. But we could look this up for like Johnson and Johnson and like what the stuff that they've done with like baby powder and all that. And we're gonna trust them now with the vaccines.
The New York Times literally just did a fucking piece about it. It was like I think it was like a couple months before the pandemic started. They did this whole piece about how Johnson and Johnson. It was this one elderly lady. They were her parents used baby powder on her whole life, and she developed like a cancer, some form of cancer, or something like that. Literally, the New York Times just did a fucking story about it.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, occasionally they'll bring up like surface level truths, and most of the times when they bring it up, it's when it doesn't even matter anymore. Like the harm is already done.
Exactly.
Like what the things that Monsanto's done with putting glyphosate and pesticides when they knew it would cause harm to people, and now a bunch of people are suing Monsanto and the Roundup company for putting glyphosate in their products, which then cause things like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And that issue is something really personal for me. Like I had my dad die of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he's used Roundup pesticide. So I mean, they're literally killing us, and this is why they're afraid of us, because now we're going deeper into the rabbit hole. We're exposing things that they're doing, and that's why they're aggressively going after small channels, preventing them from growing. If there's more risk in going after big channels like Jimmy Dore, because of the outrage that would happen if he gets videos banned or gets suspended, or if he gets his channel taken down. There'd be massive outrage. But there's little risk for demonetized channels like mine, and even channels like Nico's or Combo Couches or Propagandas or Vanessa Beeley's. But I mean, regardless, we're just going to keep pushing for the truth and exposing these things. We're doing the things that AOC and all of those squad members claim to be doing. We're actually challenging the people we're supposed to be challenging. We're challenging the oligarchs that are literally poisoning us and then making us dependent on big pharma to treat our diseases, when instead of curing them, instead of relying on thousands of years of holistic medication that they demonize.
Yeah, that's one of the, man. And it's like, look, I'm not the person. I do not have a healthy diet. I'm a smoker, unfortunately. I do a lot of unhealthy things, but one of the things I have been blessed was that my dad, put me onto a lot of the holistic teachings and things like that I'm going to get into, get back into eventually and get, healthy and everything. But like, even somebody like me, like, knows this shit. So it's like when I hear like, just people like flat out like shitting on, holistic medicine is just crazy. Actually, one of the dope things was, I feel like a lot of, especially like in like the people who listen to hip hop and everything like that, Big Sean was actually talking about that a lot in his last project, because he actually had like he had like a heart disease or something like that, and he had a line in one of his songs where he was like, he said, they said my heart wouldn't beat till I started studying holistic medicines. That's when I found out Western medicine is weak. So like, yeah, man, like Nipsey Hussle, before he passed away, he was working on a documentary about Dr. Sebi and his like, I believe alkaline diets or something like that. And I believe Nick Cannon is supposed to be continuing working on it. I don't know if it's ever going to come into fruition and actually happen, but But yeah, man, I think that's something that needs to be talked up, definitely needs to be talked about more. And they shit on Joe Rogan for saying that shit all the time. Like,
Horse dewormer. Well, right. Yeah, he took the variant of ivermectin that's used for horse dewormer, right? That's literally the one that he took. Right. It's like saying, oh, like Joe Rogan used substances that people have died from poisoning. You can die from like water poisoning because you drink too much water. Like that's a thing. Like they could say that about him if he says he drinks plenty of water. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like water is used for so many different things.
yeah, and I remember like ivermectin was the one because I remember back when Trump was in office, like I wasn't honest. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't really paying attention to it too much. But I think it was called
Hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
they didn't tell people how in other countries and even in the US, there's a lot of success in hydroxychloroquine reducing the symptoms of COVID when it's taken with zinc, and it's taken at the right time with the right dose.
Mhm.
The people who had negative side effects from HCQ were the ones that took it at the wrong time. They didn't have the right mixture with zinc and all that. But there's no room for that nuance there because they're in the pockets of big pharma, and there's no profit in actually curing a disease.
Exactly. That's another thing I heard too. I heard that like, none of the big companies, the reason why they're shitting on ivermectin so much is because none of the big companies aren't, I think has something to do with the
They
patents or
have no
something like
stake in
that.
it.
Yeah. But now they're making like literally their equivalent of the drug, right? Am I mistaken by saying that?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, Pfizer is. They have their own pill now, where it does exactly the same thing as ivermectin. It's a protease inhibitor. I don't know what the differences are, but that's essentially what ivermectin is. It's a protease inhibitor. It prevents the virus from putting genetic information into the cells to create certain proteins that could be harmful for us, right? It's a blocker. It blocks that from happening, so that the virus doesn't invade the cell and then further cause harm to the body.
Okay. Yeah, man. Yeah, just all the information and just the fact that, like so far I haven't talked too much about because like as like the whole conversation is going on about the vaccines and the mandates and everything. Like I haven't been making videos lately. Like honestly, this has got me inspired and fired up to start getting back into it again. But
Oh, it's a fun rabbit hole to get into.
yeah, but I haven't like experienced like them taking down videos or anything like that, or like what you guys talk about on your channel all the time. So
They haven't found you yet.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it though. I'm looking forward to it because I have no picks, bro. I'm going to talk what I need to talk about, and you guys are just gonna have to kick me off of YouTube at that point. I don't fucking care.
Awesome. Yeah,
And
what I'm doing is just creating backup channels. If they want to kick me off, I have that other backup channel
yes,
where
I
people
saw
can
that.
find me. And then I'm
Yes.
just gonna keep doing it. Uh,
I literally almost
but
got kicked off of Instagram for that hilarious fucking statement Trump put out about Colin Powell. I posted that on my IG. It was like Trump
that
is
was
like,
funny.
yeah, I was like Trump is King Petty, bro. And they like dinged it and said it was like false information or some shit like that. And they locked my Instagram account because it said
You're
like
just sharing something that Trump said.
yeah, well, because they said it was because it said 45th president, and they were trying to take it as if like, oh, like Trump is
You're
saying
claiming it.
he's still
Yeah.
the president, this, that, and the third. When even Trump's not saying he's still the president, he's saying he's the 40. That's how ex-presidents write their letters, like like
Yeah,
Obama.
he's literally the 45th president that we've had in the US.
Exactly.
Whether we
Exactly.
like it or not. Like I don't like that, but that's what we got. That's Barack Obama is the 44th, Bill Clinton is the 42nd, George Bush is the 43rd.
See, and I guess I'm more cynical because I like the fact that Trump was president because I feel like it revealed how full of shit a lot of our politicians are in America and just how much of a joke the political system is that this guy could become president. Now they're talking about the fucking Rock running for president and shit. Like
Yeah.
American politics is a fucking joke at this point.
I know what you mean, right? Like it exposed a lot of hypocrisy in this country. Like it's definitely not good for the country, but it does wake a lot of people up.
I almost voted for
Because
Kanye West in 2020. That's how fucked up our elections are.
yeah, just like right now, I think with Biden, I think it's helping to wake some people up. They're seeing, okay, our problems aren't getting fixed from what, like he's doing the same things that Trump was doing. In
I mean,
some
he's not
cases, he's
doing
doing
necessarily the
worse.
same things, Franco. Like I don't remember Trump necessarily falling asleep during
Hmm.
interviews with foreign
Hmm.
dignitaries and everything, but
Yeah.
But yeah, they're doing the same shit basically. Yeah, even worse in my opinion with all the bombings of Syria and everything like that, and the continued warmongering. And oh my God, man, it's just insane. So I guess like the last topic that I wanted to get into definitely, because this is something that that's been on my mind personally, because I'm a worker. But the whole debate around the worker shortage thing, like I feel like this is being used in a targeted way by the ruling class to like basically create like class civil war amongst each other, because it's like I hear like, and not this specifically target, conservatives or anything, but like the stereotypical, people just want to sit at home and be lazy, they don't want to work, this, that, and the third. Like, why are people out striking? Like, we already have supply issues, you should be gracious that you have a job, you should be. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, oh, like this new job that I got, I hate it. I'm literally forced to work 16 hours. I could be in danger of losing my job. Like, horrible hours, horrible treatment there, unsafe working conditions. And it's like, but I stick it out, but if somebody wants to, not necessarily like just sit at home, but if they like, why do workers have to put up with that? If more people were to stand up and, do the mass strikes that we're seeing, I saw a couple people on Twitter, saying that, like, saying things like, oh, we need to rely on the DSA to organize more. Like, we need to rely on the fucking corrupt unions who's been selling us out for the last however X decades. Like, continuously pushing, from the left side, them pushing us back into the corruption that pushes conservatives away, from the labor movements. And it's just like a perpetual cycle of, again, the word I love to use, fuckery. Just, it never solves itself. Like, what's your opinion on it, like, with what's going on?
They're going against their own best interests. If you're going against these strikes, we deserve to have our own basic needs met. If you look at how much people were getting paid in the 80s, which at the time wasn't even a lot, like the minimum wage was $7, translating that to present day, that's over $20. So asking for $15 is not asking, that's not an upgrade. That's less than what we deserve. That's less than what we were getting in the 80s. Same thing with not getting our benefits, like with healthcare and all that. Like, this is why, like, these people are putting in hours after hours and then they're barely making ends meet.
Yeah.
So we should be supporting this, but we have to, I don't know, like, explain this to the conservatives, like, oh, like, this is like what I just mentioned, right? This is how much they were making, how people were making in the 80s. This is how much they're making now. It doesn't translate the right way. Like, exactly. Look at how much the economy has gone up. It's mostly going to people at the top. It's not going to people at the bottom. People, like, the gap between the rich and the poor is growing more and more every year. And we can hit them on things that we agree with. It's like, we shouldn't be spending so much on war. We shouldn't even be at war right now with anybody. Like, who's a threat to us right now? Nobody
wants smoke with, like, and not in terms of like, oh, they don't want smoke with us in terms of like, oh, they're afraid. No, they want to live in peace and not be fucked with by our government, by our intelligence agencies. That's like, whatever your opinion is on China, like, you cannot help but see that the intelligence communities is fucking with that country, regardless of how you feel about China, Venezuela, Iran, whoever the fuck it is. Like, you like, fuck how you feel about these countries, because at the end of the day, Medhurst says this the best to me, and I love his channel when it comes to foreign policy. Like, it's not about how the fuck Americans feel. Like, it's about how Iranians feel. It's about how the Chinese feel. It's about how the Venezuelans feel. Like, it doesn't fucking matter how you feel. Like, and that's
their country. We have no business interfering in what they do.
Exactly. And that's where it's like, I feel like a lot of conservatives, and again, I'm not trying to pile on the conservatives or anything like that, but I feel like they don't see the links in the chain that builds up to the overall, the elite class that they claim to fucking hate. They don't realize like how, like what leads up to that. They leave out certain points because whether it's, I see it a lot with like the military, because a lot of them have family that's in the military, people that serve, things like that. They're super into the patriotism thing and all that shit. So it's like, how do you explain to them, our military, like they're literally sending your son to either die or kill somebody else's family on
Yeah.
behalf of, some fucking oil baron or whatever, or Elon Musk to make, fucking
Just tell them that and share information with them. Like
yeah,
share sources to back up what you're saying. But like I mentioned earlier, don't try to change their mind right then and there. Just plant some seeds. And also talk to them on things that you guys agree with. Conservatives, a lot of them saw through Russiagate. You can bond on that, explain the logic about how ridiculous that is, and then explain to them how that Russiagate narrative, those people that were creating that narrative, are the same people that are creating that China narrative.
yeah,
And now they're like, ask them, do you think that you're falling for the same thing, except it's not Russiagate, it's Chinagate? Like it's
yeah,
these same people that are involved in creating that narrative.
yeah. And this,
So that's just a way I think you could approach that.
yeah, and it's so cool because it's like for me, like I'm already like a chill dude. Like I don't think attacking, like just in my nature, I'm not into attacking people unless it's like my homies, because we go back and forth. That's how we talk to each other. Shit like
They
that.
know what's up.
Like you fucking
Yeah.
idiot. Like it's not
Yeah.
that. Like that's how we talk to each other. Shit. We say worse things to each other. Um, but I like just distinctively, I remember one night I was talking to my homie's dad. His dad is like, Trump supporter, all that. And he just sat down, had a conversation with a guy, he probably like, like if I told him what my politics was, that I lean more towards, the social democratic communist, whatever they want to call it, side and things like that, he would probably chalk me up as like basically a fucking liberal, as like some, fucking college kid liberal,
Yeah.
doesn't like that type of shit. But when he actually heard me like speak and talk about the shit, you feel me? And like honestly debunking a lot of people that he watches, like, the Shapiros of the world, Crowder, whoever the fuck it is, on that side. Because I used to watch those guys. I used to like those guys because I thought they were attacking the wokesters and shit like that. But then I was like, oh, you guys, it's funny how you never talk about Julian Assange, but you talk about freedom of speech all the time. You never talk about Assange.
Yeah.
Very weird. Not talking about Abby Martin's case. Very weird. Guys don't talk about that shit. But just bringing up, those points, but in a way where it's not like combative or attacking. It's like a conversation, because like most of the conversations I have with everyday people are at bars, honestly. So they're already, juiced up and willing to talk and things like that.
Yeah, I've talked to my friend's stepdad who was a Trump supporter. Like I just talk to him on things that I agree with. I tell him like, yeah, F the Democratic Party and all that, blah blah blah. But I said, but I feel the same way about the Republican Party. Fuck them too, and blah blah blah.
Exactly.
And then they're just like, yeah, they're not doing the best right now, blah blah blah. There just needs to be they say there needs to be like a legitimate third party and blah blah in this country.
Well, that's what's crazy. Yeah, a lot of the Trump supporters I've encountered, they fucking hate the Republican Party. Like they
just put up with it because they see the Democrats as a much bigger evil that they just can't stand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we can bond with these people on things that we agree with. And
then when you look at Nancy
seeds on
Pelosi's
them.
face, it almost makes me want to be a Republican too. Just seeing her talk every day, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna go fucking vote red today. I fucking hate you.
We'll get the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just gonna be Mitch McConnell looking like a little turtle. So, but Franco, man, I really appreciate you coming on, man. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. I know I had you on here for a while, man. I really appreciate the conversations you had with me today, man. Because it's like, I like, one of the things I wanted to do here and make sure that I didn't fan out. Because again, it's like I said, I'm a big fan of your shows. Like coming from watching you and like, oh shit, like like when you're a fan of shit, you're talking. When you watching shit, you're like, yo, I agree with that, Frank. Oh, that's dope. Like talking into the phone, actually talking to you now, conversing with you, man. It was really dope, man. Like I said, I respect your journalism. To me, you're one of the best independent journalists we have. You ask the tough questions. You along like with what's the guy's name? Primo Radical as well. I fucking love his show, dude. Like he acts like tough questions, like to people. He doesn't give a fuck
with a straight face.
Yeah, like straightest face ever. Like, bro, like just fucking savage. Like I think he asked Jimmy about the whole Green Party debacle and shit like that. Like when he went on there, I believe he asked Max about the whole,
about his dad.
Yeah, his dad and Aaron Matei as well. with Aaron
Oh,
going.
what did he ask Aaron? Because I didn't
I
see
believe it was
that.
along the lines of like the vaccines and shit. Because Max has been talking heavy about the vaccines and shit.
I'm
So
glad he did.
and
Because yeah, Aaron has been pretty pro-vax recently.
and it's
Uh,
like it sucks because it's like I feel like his other work, even though I saw faults in his earlier Syria coverage where he was talking about like Assad repeating the same shit basically, but then like trying to pretend like it wasn't or whatever, not pretend, but make it a different thing. Like, oh, this is definitely a police state. This, that, and I'm like, bro, come on, man. 90% of the people don't go out and vote for this motherfucker because then they don't like him. If this was like what they try to say Syria is, he would not be there right now with all these surrounding countries trying to get him out of there. Then on top of that, the people, he must be Superman if he's still there. Then if he's what they say.
yeah, like Matt Hurst said. How the
Exactly.
heck is he still?
Dog, Richard Medhurst is so hilarious, bro. I want to have him on the show soon too. He's so fucking hilarious, bro.
Oh man, yeah, I'd love to have him on.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But again, man, thank you again, man. If you want to go ahead and shout out your, socials, YouTube channel, just shout yourself out, man.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at B43Franco. That's pretty much the only social media I have right now for the channel. I'm also on Discord. Links to that are on my YouTube channel, which is Frank Analysis. I'm also on Odyssey and on Rockfin, and support alternative platforms because YouTube is going to kick all of us out at some point. Yeah. But regardless, I will be hopping to different backup channels if they take my channel down. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed the conversation.
I appreciate you coming, man. You guys already know what it's been. It's been Tox Talk. It's been your guy Bendu signing off.